Oh dear, how are you all today? I'm just taking a bit of time to try and get set up a bit better here. I haven't been on for quite some time. My regular followers would know that. I'm just having a bit of a drink, guys. It's ridiculously hot here today, like it is in many other places in probably most of Australia, although I did notice where my daughter lives it doesn't look that hot today. It's only about 20 degrees there. Willow and I have been trying desperately for the last 2 days to keep cool, and that has proven to be more difficult than I would have liked. I've just pulled my needle book out I'm working on, and I can see out here in the daylight it's covered in fur, of course. I've got some sticky tape just up there in front of me, and I want to get it, and it's just out of arm's reach, and I don't want to stand up, partly because I'm tired and partly because the whole setup will fall off. Oh, of course it fell onto the ground. Oh dear me. I thought I'd be clever and pull it off, but that didn't work. Oh my lord, I'm going to have to stand up, aren't I? I don't want to. We're currently outside, as you've probably worked out. The reason we're out here is because it's actually about 6 degrees cooler out here than it is in the house. This ridiculous house doesn't have any insulation, and I only have one little air conditioner that I think has come to an end of its life because it's not cooling at all. It's not cooling the house down for us. So in fact I think it's actually heating things up. I've been trying not to use it because it's gotten really expensive to use, ridiculously expensive, and but Willow's not coping at all, and I'm worried that she might end up with heat stroke, so I've got to do everything I can to try and keep her cool. I've wet her off a few times today, which seems to help, but there's only so many times you can wet her. She doesn't like it. She's not overly fond of being wet down. So here is my chonky little needle book I've been working on. I've got way too much crammed in here, but I couldn't choose which pieces to keep in and which. There's still other pieces I want to get in here, but I don't think that's going to happen because she's just a great big chonk. I'm just trying to get dog hairs off it. I think the harder I try to keep dog hairs off the things, the more dog hairs I get on the things, to be honest. So I've got this lovely piece of vintage Sanderson on the front that I got in a kit from Beck at So Be. I do have more of this. I've got a big piece inside, but I don't want to cut it. So I've been trying to get one of these pieces of Beck's for maybe 12 months or so. I don't know how long she's had it. I've seen it come up a few times. There's a hair stuck in there that I can't lift. That's a pain in the neck. It's only a little one. Come off your bum. Okay, So I decided to use that as the cover, obviously. It's not as long as I'd like to do them, not as deep. Oh, there's more bloody hair. You've just come out, babe. It's hotter in there, remember? So as you can see, I've put this strip of linen, that was from this strip here, was from my stash. I haven't gotten rid of my pen markings yet. I've got pen marks everywhere. You can probably see I've still got a stitch along here. I've tried so many different colours for this blanket stitch, and this isn't the greatest, but it's the best that I've come up with. Any other colours, the blues didn't work. Even if I matched it very closely to this, it just didn't work. I've tried yellows, I've tried the pinks, the rosy colours, I tried cream, they just didn't work. So this sort of leafy green, can you see Willow's nose? This sort of leafy green has been, it's worked the best so far. So as you can see, I've still got some big basting stitches in here. I always baste it. Oh, Bubby, you can't cuddle, Mama. It's too hot for us both. You're too hot and I'm too hot, and your body temperature is higher than mine and you're making me hotter. Oh, Willow, please, baby. It's too hot, darling girl. I always baste my layers. So, for example, this cover, I did it a bit different this time. Instead of quilting it, I've attached it to some vintage wool blanketing. I don't want to open it and show you everything else yet. Not that it really matters, you're going to see it anyway. But so I've basted it to that, to hold those two layers together while I stitch all the bits, all the components to it. I've then come back. I do everything quite backwards because I like to try and piece it all together as I go, but how can I explain it? I mean, apart from the fact that I think of things as I'm going along, I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking. So I've put all this, well, it's all just tacked together. It's not actually stitched together yet. But I have sort of tacked it together. Oh my gosh, there's a great big pile of frickin' hair that must have just come from her just then. Blinkin' heck. Everything's wet because I just hosed her down. My whole left side's wet where she just stuck her head under my arm. I don't normally put ice in my drinks. This is just a cordial because the tap water here is horrendous at the moment. Don't normally put ice in my drinks, but it's just ridiculous, and the tap water is not overly cool. But I thought of making these big cubes out of my loaf bars, my silicone loaf bars, thinking that the bigger the cube, the longer it will take to melt. It's not making much difference, and I can tell you now, this bit here, just there, just that top, not even an inch, feels cool, but from there down, I can feel that's still really warm. Anyway, but that's okay because I'm only drinking at the top bit, aren't I? So, let's get back to this. More hairs. Bubba, it is cooler out here. There's a breeze. Stay out here and cool down a bit, please. So what did I do? I basted the cover to the wool first. Then I think I basted in this pocket. So that's another piece of Sanderson I had in a different colour, in a green. I did, look at these bloody hairs, that does my head in. I try so hard to keep them out of everything. Oh, Jesus. There's a lot of them. There's one. Anyone with pets, I usually keep these in Ziploc bags as well, and I still end up with hairs. So if anyone with pets with hair, do you manage to keep the hair off your work? And if so, please tell me your tips. Because I've tried a lot. Mind you, I haven't vacuumed for a few weeks because of all the things that have been going on. So that probably hasn't helped. Oh, man. Look, there's one under that stitch. Usually just tape. The packing tape works better. I've got some inside. Usually just the tape is enough to pull it out. It usually works better than pulling it out, to be honest. And I don't know either. Some of this might have already come with, like some of these I've had for years. Some of them I've bought, the blanketing I've bought over time. You know, I bought some recently, and I don't have the greatest eyesight. So I think some of them have actually come like this. And the ones I've had for years have been in bags. So in theory it shouldn't be from my doggo. But I don't know if they've come this way because I don't have great eyesight. So anyway, the second thing I think, after I basted the front of the wool, I basted in this wool, this Sanderson, this linen piece. Oh gosh darn, I'm brain dead. As a pocket. But before I did that, I've stitched a bias on here to make that edge nice and neat and clean. Bit of vintage bias. What's it called? Brain dead again. Is it lawn? Cotton? Oh, I can't remember. It's something. Cotton. It's cotton, but sometimes it's got a specific name for the type of fabric. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, I've hand stitched all that on. Everything's hand stitched, by the way. So I put that together. And I've put in this, that was actually last I unpicked that. So I put in this crochet edge that I've salvaged from a large sandwich tray cloth, and I'm blanket stitching that in, and I try to stitch into those, you know, those pre-existing, you can see it up here, the pre-existing eyelets. See these eyelets here that are crocheted into? Up here. So when I'm doing the blanket stitch, I try to stitch into those, and as you can see here, I'm not doing one stitch into each eyelet. And that's just my personal preference at the moment. I like these close together because I feel it just holds it all together better, especially that edging, to minimize the fraying. I ended up putting, I think I put the linen on later, so I had to unpick it a bit to get that in, because again, as I'm going, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can do that. Oh, I wonder if that would look good in there. So I put the linen in, and then after I'd stitched these, Willow, baby, you cannot shove your head under my arm like that. You're going to knock me off the seat. Look, you're making yourself hotter having your body on my body, and you're making me hotter. So please move away, it's too hot. Move away, mate, come on, it's too hot. Come on. You're all wet and hot and steamy. It's gross. You're heating us both up. So I did this stitch in here, And then I decided, I tried all different inserts along here and nothing worked. And I tried edging along the top of this and I didn't like anything. Nothing just seemed to work. So I eventually settled on another piece of this crocheted lace edging, which I thought works. So then I had to unpick it all again and insert that into there. And then after I'd stitched all that together, I decided to do some stitching on the front. And again, I haven't removed my biro marks yet, but I didn't undo it again. I just sort of stitched into it. On the back, I haven't got any lace along this bit yet. I don't know if I will or not. I've just tacked this bit down so far because I'm not sure exactly where I want it to sit, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to finish it off yet. But, oh man alive. I stitched this up, and then after I'd stitched it all in, I changed my mind and decided that maybe I should keep this, the colour swatching on display. So this was obviously a salvage piece. I just pulled a little thread out of it, which is one thing that tells me it's salvaged, little blue thread, and I know I haven't used blue. And another reason is because there's a seam, like that edge has been pressed down. I don't know if you can see it sitting up a bit. It's a bit hard to see, isn't it? Can you see that ridge running down there? So I've pressed this and steamed it and pressed it and steamed it, and that won't come out. So that's another thing that tells me that that had been pressed in place many times and steamed. So I'm fairly sure this is a reclaimed piece of linen, but that's okay. That's not an issue because I often use reclaimed pieces. But my point is, I decided to open it out and display that. Hello Jude, how are you? It's really good to see you. I don't know about you, but it is ridiculously hot here today. So, Willow and I are both struggling a bit. It's marginally cooler outside than it is inside. Well, it's about 6 degrees warmer inside at the moment. There is a breeze out here. It's a warm breeze, but there's a breeze, so it's a bit cooler out here. So I unpicked all that, so I had that turned over just like that, and then later I thought, no, these bloody bikes are back. Oh, it's ridiculous. It's mainly, I think it's mainly the last 2 days. We couldn't sleep last night. We couldn't cool down, and it is so warm. The air conditioner's not working anymore. It's not making any difference. And this house has no insulation, so it's just like a hot box inside. It's that bad. All you want to do is throw up. It's dreadful. And poor Willow's really struggling. She doesn't cope with extreme temperatures at the best of times. So she's been having showers all through the day to try and cool down. And then I've brought her outside, so when the wind gets on her wet coat and skin, it's helping regulate her temperature a bit better. I was going to say it's humid. This is the most ridiculous oxymoron. It's really humid, but it's also ridiculously dry. So within the last few days, our plants have just turned to dust. They've dried up and shriveled, and with the breeze, they're just blowing away in the wind. There's no more lawn. The lawn's disintegrated. It's cooked. It's just dreadful. And there's fires around again. I'm actually on call, but I can't respond because I can't get a babysitter for Willow at the moment, and I can't get to the station within 20 minutes if we're called out either. So even though I'm on call, technically, I'm not able to actually do anything. I just pulled that baste in and I don't know where I pulled it from. In there, I think. Let's see if that... I haven't been around for a while because we've had a few dramas, I suppose, over the last couple of months. I was right in the middle of doing a... That's not working. It hasn't come from there. It must have come from this side. I was right in the middle of a... there it is. Of a textile drop. And those of you who were so incredibly patient with me while I got everything sorted out, I'm incredibly grateful and thank you to you. I'd been unwell for 6 or 8 weeks, and I think I've already shared this information, but it just kept going. It turned into a kidney infection. So I had to get some antibiotics, as you can imagine, because I was not getting well. It was 6 or 8 weeks and I was not getting well. So I had to get some antibiotics, but I couldn't get in to see my doctor because he was on leave. So I had to go to the pharmacy to see if they could prescribe something. Normally they can't, but in this circumstance they were able to. So that was okay. So I took that course of antibiotics, but I continued to deteriorate. That course of antibiotics went for about, it must have been nearly 2 weeks. It was a huge course, the biggest I've ever had. And I had to take a tablet every 6 hours. So I had to set alarms to wake up through the night. So that was okay. But I still wasn't well. So I finally got in to see my doctor and he prescribed another course of antibiotics. And I don't normally just take antibiotics willy-nilly. I try really hard not to take them unless it's necessary. But I was quite unwell, so I took the antibiotics again. I started the second round on the Thursday. Must be nearly 3 weeks ago now. And started to decline again. Quite a bit. By Friday night, I went to stay with my dad to help him with the dogs because my mum was at my sister's, and I wasn't feeling great. I didn't say anything to Dad, and Saturday morning Dad had actually asked me if I was okay, and he never does that, so I must have looked pretty crook. And I told him I had a dreadful headache that was bordering on migraine. I just felt really nauseous and I had no energy, and like minus no energy. And I just felt really bad. And he wanted to take me to the hospital, but I talked him out of it. I convinced him it was just my fibromyalgia. But I also knew something wasn't right. But anyway, so that was Saturday. Sunday, I was a bit of a mess. I couldn't stop throwing up. The nausea hardly stopped the whole time, and it was dreadful. I struggled to eat. If I did, I'd just throw up. I was throwing up if I was eating or not. I started to have trouble walking, and apart from the all over joint pain, I had this horrendous pain in my feet. And trying to stand on my feet was excruciating, and many times when I stood up I'd just fall to the ground because the pain was unbearable. So by Tuesday morning I couldn't stand it anymore. I rang my doctor, and again he wasn't there, but they consulted with another doctor and the nurse, and they decided that I was having an allergic reaction to the antibiotics. Of course I was. I seem to have allergic reactions to all the medications these days. So I had to stop that. So I don't think I'd had my morning dose, or had I? I might have. I had. So I was due one around lunchtime. By about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was already starting to feel better. So I continued to improve, except the nausea stuck around for a few days. My feet haven't improved, so I've had to go out and buy some shoes that have got they're nursing shoes with a like a spongy inner sole, that like a shock absorber, I suppose. I can't even walk to the bathroom of a morning without those shoes on at the moment, so I'm still struggling with the feet issue. And then, so that was on the Tuesday. I rang the doctors. I was still pretty crook. The same day, not long after I'd hung up from the doctors, my mum rang, a bit distressed because her sister had been rushed to hospital. She'd broken a shoulder. So she wanted me to drive her up to the hospital, and I was like, I can't drive. I'm not well. I can't stop vomiting. And Mum was upset, so I had to drive. I had to keep stopping to be sick. I didn't know if I needed food or a drink, or if I needed nothing. I didn't know what to do. So anyway, I took Willow with me because she had also been sick for weeks, and I'd been ringing the vets daily, unable to get through, leaving messages, not hearing back from them. So I took her with us, hoping that they'd ring, because her vet was up near the hospital, hoping they'd ring and say, bring her in. They didn't. So I dropped Mum at the hospital. It was a warm day, so I drove into the into the town, parked on the river in the shade, and Willow and I started to walk down the street. I only got about 300 metres and I couldn't walk any further. To cut a long story short, this is going to go on for a while. Tried to buy a pair of shoes in the main street. The two shoe shops were so rude and mean to me, I ended up in tears. The first one, the lady looked me up and down and said, you can't afford our shoes. I knew how much their shoes were. I had the money to pay for the shoes. And she just kept saying, we have thongs. I said, I don't want thongs. My feet are sore. I've just explained that to you. The last thing I want to do is put a pair of thongs on. I don't want thongs. She didn't want to serve me. So I ended up leaving there. There was a shoe shop across the road. They wouldn't even acknowledge me, the staff in there. So anyway, I rang a sports store up the road that stocked the same shoes I found online, asked them if they were dog friendly. They said they were. We drove out there, had to explain to them roughly what had happened. They met us at the door. They had water for Willow. They were really good to me. They helped me find a pair of shoes. They even gave me a discount, and it was the extreme opposite. So anyway, ended up with a pair of shoes that I could walk in without being in agony. And then, yeah, we had to hang around until Mum was finished at the hospital to pick her up to come back home. I've just got to... Willow just wants to go back inside, guys. Give me a minute. I'll just take her lead off and open the door. In you go, quick. Okay. Oh, now my knees are sore. So that was the Tuesday. I continued trying to pack orders, but all this stuff kept coming up. Mum needed help with things, my kids needed things. It was just challenging. So the following Monday, which was not Monday just gone, the one before, Mum called again and said there's something wrong with my son's Great Dane. That she was worried about him. Can I go over and have a look? Now, I don't have transport, and I wasn't going to walk over there because my feet are still sore. And she's like, I just don't know whether to call the vet. And I said to her, if you're worried, just call the vet. That's enough. You know, if there's something that's worrying you, just call the vet. She didn't want to make that call, so I went over. We ended up calling my son to come over. But I rang the vet. I said, this is not okay. It was after hours, of course. It's always after hours whenever one of our animals gets sick, always. Took me a couple of goes to get through the after hours number. I didn't want to go to the after hours clinic in Newcastle because I don't like them. I've had bad experiences there, so kept ringing our vet. He finally answered the after hours number. He wanted me to send videos. Mac's breathing was laboured and he was in pain, and He couldn't get comfortable, he couldn't stand, he couldn't sit. It wasn't great. I was beside myself. I thought he had bloat. So I sent the videos off to the vet. He rang back and said, I think he's got bloat. You're going to have to, if you want any chance of him surviving, you're going to have to take him to SASH. And I was like, oh my God. Like, SASH, for those who don't know, is the Small Animal Specialist Hospital. And I think they are one of, if not the most advanced high-tech facility in the country. They're on TV. They're linked with the Bondi Vet. They're really good, but really expensive. So we started heading down there, and I got Mum to ring them on the way to tell them we were coming and that we thought he had bloat. So they were going to meet us at the door with a trolley to get him inside. We pulled up and he hopped out and walked up to the door, and they're like, oh. And we're like, His tail's wagging, and I said to the vet tech, just be careful, he's a biter. He will go, you guys. So he didn't. He was as sweet as pie to them. Before they let us through the door, they said, we just need you to know, before you walk in the door, it's $2,500, just straight up. And we're like, oh God, where are we going to get that sort of money from? And I think that was to admit him into ICU, give him fluid, IV fluids. I think they gave him antibiotics. They did an X-ray, did blood work. I think that was it. So they came out and said that the X-rays were inconclusive. They couldn't see if he had bloat or not, that the gases in his stomach were inconclusive. So when they lie him down one way, the gases move to one side end of the stomach and the gastric juices move up to the other. When they tip him over the other way, that reverses, and that wasn't happening. The X-rays were just cloudy. They couldn't establish whether there was a build-up of gas in there or not. They couldn't see if there was any twisting. It was quite unusual. They said that they had rarely seen anything like that, so they didn't know what was going on. So they wanted to do CT scans, but straight up that was like another $2,800 that we didn't have. They then came out and said that he has a pneumothorax, which is a collapsed lung. So he actually had a hole in one of his lungs where the air was escaping into his chest cavity, and they think that that air had built up to a point where it was pressing on the bowel and causing it to twist. So not only did he have the pneumothorax, they also thought he had the twisted bowel as well, the bloat. So they gave us a rundown of the surgical options and what they wanted to do, and it was $32,000. And we didn't know what to do. We rang everyone we knew to see if we could get any money, and all we could get was $2,000. So my son just said, look, we're going to have to put him to sleep. We can't come up with that money. So they then shuffled things around again and said, well, maybe if we take out this procedure and try this and do this, we can get it down to like 16 to 18,000. We still didn't have that sort of money. So they shuffled it around again and tried, maybe we could try this, maybe we could try this, you know, don't give up hope. We want to work with you. Let us try and work something out. Let us try and work out some options. So they got down to 12,000. We still didn't have that sort of money. So they shuffled it. They got down to, I think they got down to about 8,000, and we still couldn't do it. So they said, well, what can you do? And we said, look, maximum 4,000. So they decided to do, they were doing more tests and observing him while this was happening, and they were fairly sure that he didn't have bloat. It was just the pneumothorax. But there were a lot of questions, you know, can he get out of the yard? Has he been hit by a car? You know, has there been some sort of impact? Has he been impaled? And I said, well, I can't see any external injuries. And not that that's not impossible, you know, injuries can happen, like quite serious puncture injuries that you don't see. But they couldn't see anything either. There was no signs of external trauma. So, and like, we knew he couldn't get out. He's an inside dog. So they came up with a plan to do what they called a band-aid, and that was to draw blood from Mac's carotid artery and use that blood to create like a blood clot, which they called a band-aid. And they then went in and applied that band-aid to the hole in the lung, hoping that that would create scar tissue and heal over that hole. The odds weren't great, but that was pretty much the only option we had other than euthanasia, and we didn't want to euthanise, so we took that option, and it seems to have worked, thank goodness. It actually cost more than what we were hoping, but they somehow made the extra money disappear, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I don't know if they've got benefactors or they didn't say, they just made it disappear. So it's nearly 3 weeks, 2 weeks, it's nearly 2 weeks, and I haven't seen him since we came home from the vet, but apparently he's back to his old self. We still need to keep him calm because we don't want to rupture that band-aid, you know. So, but anyway, all the things have been happening, so that's why I haven't been out. That's why my orders have been delayed. That's why my Christmas drop's been delayed. Everything's just been delayed. But let's get back to the needle book, because that's what we came here for. If I can stop obsessing over these hairs in it. So, as I've shown you already, I've done the pockets on the inside cover with another piece of Sanderson that I had. Pretty much the same thing on the back. Now this pocket goes, it goes to about there where the fold is. So I'm not sure, I'm still not sure whether to attach this like it is here or slide that back and just have a little fold over, but then I don't think that'd work, it'll be too bulky, so it'll probably stay like this, I think. So then I've put this piece of, this was a part of a tray cloth. It was a bit damaged, so I've reclaimed some of it to use in here, and then I've used some vintage bias bone across the top here. I didn't want to just stitch it on this piece. I don't know why, I just wanted to, the green's not the best match, but out of my vintage bias that was the best colour. So that's what I chose. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about the back of the work. I know a lot of people like to display it, but I'm just not sure how I feel about it. Oh, you know, I'll probably end up leaving it, to be honest. It will probably end up just being displayed like this, but I keep going to cover it. As you can see, I had this. I don't think I like that though. It's too modern for starters. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Then this was just a wool, a beautiful hand-dyed wool page, and then for some reason I decided to applique these flowers on, and then I didn't like that, so I've done some needle weave around it, and I'm not sure what I think about that either. It's quite textured and it's added to the bulk of this even further. This blanket stitch, I've actually used a vintage linen thread that I got from my friend's store recently. I think it's French. I do have a label inside. I can't remember now. This floral is an old part of an old sheet, but it was so pretty. I'm just checking, sorry, I'm just checking to see if I've missed any chats, but I can't get them to come up now. Usually I can pull them up. Oh, there we go. I must have accidentally hid them. Okay, so I've got them back. I don't think I've missed too much of your chats. Now I can't make them go away. Oh, hopefully, yeah, there we go, it's gone now. So yeah, I'm really not sure what I think about that. It's not my favourite work. I think I got a bit carried away with it. I've brought some blue in because there were blue flowers. I started to do, what's it called, like thread painting over the flowers, but I don't like what I've done. I've struggled with thread painting, even with other pieces I've done. So I stopped that quick smart. I just did the blue flowers and stopped that, and I've just gone to the weave stitch around it. And the main reason I did that weave stitch was to hold down the edges. I just tacked them down. I thought of doing needle turn. I've done a bit of needle turn here, but it just gets so damn laborious. I just decided this was less work, but of course it wasn't less work, was it? So then I turned that over. Now, because I had done, the way I did this weave stitch, I was trying really hard not to let any of it show on the other side. So essentially, I'm just weaving it into the top of this wool fabric. And sometimes I had to travel distances. And when I've done that a couple of times, I've managed to, I haven't been as great as I had hoped. So you can see some of the threads are showing on the back there. So to overcome that, I'm going to stitch this piece of lace on to form a pocket, I think. I'm not sure how strong it will be though. And when I'm out here, I can now see there are more basting threads I haven't got out, so I'll have to go back and get those out. Right, so I haven't, as you can see, I haven't, so when I started to attach this piece of lace, I've started in the center and worked around this way, and now I've come back to this center and I'm going to work around that way, just so it will all, you know, sort of work out, and it should sit flatter and more evenly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this has all just been tacked into place. It hasn't actually been stitched in permanently. So I will be undoing it and then putting it all together with a heavier thread more permanently, but this is to see how it's going to work and where I can put bits. So after I'd done a few pages, I've come back and attached this piece of lace. This is a piece my friend gave me recently, very delicate, very old piece of lace. It is, if you could feel it, it's like, it's very hard to recognize it's between your fingers because it's so delicate and so light. So I've put a piece of that in as a page. And then I've got a sandwich tray cloth. And of course, because I struggle with the back of work, I've attached a vintage feed sack Suffolk puff to cover up that work, but I quite like these little points sticking out behind it. I'm just trying to bring you in a bit closer. Then what I struggle with in these books is doing odd pages. So my brain tells me I want to mirror each side. Thank you, Jude. And I'm trying really hard to get around that. So I've then got this beautiful, obviously that's pulled up there where I don't want it to. I've got a stitch up there that I don't want there, pulling that piece of lace. So I'll have to address that. I've then put this beautiful vintage quilt block, the feed sack, and this is a piece I bought from Beck recently. Now normally I hang on to these pieces forever and a day and then don't end up doing anything with them. So this time I thought, bugger it, I'm going to use it in this book. So I've put it in here. I've blanket stitched around the edge to stop it fraying. But my problem with this page is it sticks out too much. So when I close the book, it's hanging out, and I don't know if I like that. It bugs me. So I don't know if I should just, while it's not being used, just fold it over, tuck it in, or should I, when I pull it apart to put it together permanently, should I move it over a bit so it's not sticking out as much? I don't have a lot of leeway because of the other page unless I shorten it in the center, but I'm going to lose quite a bit of that quilt block, and I don't want to lose that either, that purple flower there. So it might just stay. It's just going to hang out and bug the life out of me. So because that was all raw quilt block on the back and I didn't want that to start fraying, I've stitched this doily on. Now this doily came in the kit from Beck with the Sanderson, and I think, no it didn't. I don't think the sandwich tray cloth came with it. Now I'm getting tongue-tied. And that stuck out even further, which really bugged me. So I've rolled that over and stitched it onto there, onto that quilt block. So then that piece wasn't hanging out. I'm not sure if I want to leave that so naked, or should I put a piece of wool there to put needles in, or should I put something to create a pocket? I'm not sure yet. Don't know how I'm going to go with that. I've then got every bloody page I open has got more hairs on it. I can't see these inside. It's that dark inside. Even with the lights on, I can't see them. But out here, so this piece is a beautiful linen, and I'd say that's Battenberg. It's quite fine compared to other Battenberg I've seen. It's very beautiful. Very beautiful. It's all hand stitched. This little embroidery on it there. So I've just basted that edge down for now because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. Just basted it down. And this one, for some reason, I don't mind the back of it. Maybe because it's not coloured, it all sort of blends in well, I don't know. I've then got this piece of hand-dyed wool. And now that I'm out here in the daylight, I'm not sure I like the green blanket stitch around it. It's just not quite working for me, although it just does tie in the rest of the book. If you look at it as a whole, it does tie it in well. Now I've pinned this piece of fabric on here. I don't know if I'm going to keep this here because it's not, it is vintage, but it's probably only about 1970s. I want something older, I think, if I'm going to put something there. Then I've got this lovely, now I'm not sure if this was a handkerchief or a napkin. I'm thinking napkin because it's a thicker linen. I don't think you'd want to be carrying around a handkerchief that thick. It is beautiful linen. Someone's hand stitched it all. I've seen a couple of little errors which bugs me, but I'm trying to overlook that because it's someone's work and it's lovely. And again, I've just tacked that seam down for now because I'm not sure how I'm going to finish that off. I'm thinking maybe if I can match this blue, I might do another blue running stitch along here. I've then I've stitched along there this piece of vintage lace that my girlfriend gave me. She has a shop, but pieces like this with rust stains on it she can't sell. So I often get little treat bags from her, which I absolutely adore. And initially I thought I can't use that in there, but if you look at it as a whole, I love it. I think it works well. And I think that will stay in there. Now this is the back of that napkin, and again, I'm not overly fussed on the back of that. Do I leave it because it's full of character and it tells a story? Or do I do what I normally do and cover it over? I haven't decided yet, but let me know what you think or what you do. This linen is so soft, even though I've starched it. Now there's the front. Look at that beautiful stitching someone's done on there. Let's zoom in so you can have a better look. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at this. I don't know if it's a blanket stitch. It's not buttonhole because buttonhole's got a little knot on it and that doesn't. And then the lazy daisy, but that is beautiful, that stitch. Then I've got this little doily that I'm thinking of stitching in here as a page. It's just a little. Now another thing that I'm trying to overlook is that some of the pages are like ecru or cream, and then I've got these stark white ones, and a big part of me wants to have it all the same colour, so either all ecru or all white. So I'm trying to overcome that and mix it up. So as you can probably see, this is an ecru and this is white. But I think it's okay. So I haven't stitched that in yet, but I'm thinking of stitching that in there. Just as a little page. Now this bit here is part of this napkin. Now I don't like to chop it off when I put them in. I like to try and utilise that piece somehow. So I've decided to stitch these vintage puffs on there. Not entirely sure yet that it will stay this way. I think it will. But I've put those on that flap there. And part of me wanted to stitch something on the back of there, but I love the back as much as the front. Look at those beautiful feed sack fabrics. I love looking at them. So the next page is that other part of that hand-dyed wool that I've had for nearly 20 years. And I've just pinned on this little motif. I'm not sure if I like it. It's not the easiest to see down there, is it? Not sure I like that yet. I'm not convinced. And that's why it's only pinned on. Yeah, I don't know what else to put there. We turn it over and of course we've got the other part of that motif. Now this needle book doesn't have many pockets. So far it's only got the front and back inside covers and then that little lace one. Normally I put a lot more pockets in, but this one just hasn't worked out that way. And I usually put more wool in, so there was going to be, let me come back here and show you. So that's the center of the book. There was going to be more pieces put in, but it's just getting so chunky. I don't think I can make it work. Now I know I brought those pieces out. Oh, this is another piece that I'm pulled out thinking I might be able to use in here as a little pocket or something. It's a beautiful filet lace crocheted piece. Now where did I put that? Oh, sorry guys, I'm leaning on my balls of my feet again and it's hurting. Where did I put those pieces? I actually feel like, I don't know if you can notice I've been sniffling. I apologise, I hate it when people do that, but I've been doing it. I actually feel like I'm coming down with a head cold. Okay, here it is. So, this was going to go in there as well. So a piece of doctor's flannel for the needles and pins again, bloody hairs again. And then this piece of linen that came in the kit. How did I have that folded? I think it went this way. Give me a minute, I've got it all backwards. Okay, so I think I was going to do it this way. Oh my lord, these little hairs. I still haven't got them all. So, but one thing I'm mindful of is, I don't know why, but I don't like just having the wool as the centre page. I like to put something in there, a doily or something. But let's go back and have a look. So if I was able to manage to get this in, this would create another pocket in there. And I was going to stitch this piece of lace on the front of that. If I do that, I don't think I'll need that piece in there, because I think we've got the blue here and the blue here, and we've got the orange and the orange picking up in this embroidery, and then we've got more orange peeking through here. So I don't think I need that extra blue, that extra white page if I get this in. So if we turn that over, we'll have a pocket in here, and then we turn over the doctor's flannel, and again I'd like something in there, and then there'll be another pocket on this side, and this is a big one. That won't be folded over that deeply. I'll cut that off if it goes in, because I can use that on something else. But I was tossing up whether to have this as a deep pocket so I can keep the orange and the blue stripes visible. So we then turn that over, and then I like that next to that. So I'd love to be able to get that in, but when I've finished showing you the pages and close it up, you'll see how chunky it is. And I'm just not sure it's going to work unless I take some other pages out. But then what do I take out? So I think we saw that one, and again, look how good that looks against that. We've got these little bits peeking through, we've got the orange against the orange, and I think it just looks good. So we come back to our Battenberg, which I love. I just love that Battenberg. Now here on this page we've got a bit of that doily peeking through, and I like that. And I've stitched a piece of linen onto that. Now this linen, I can't remember if it was from one that I had or if it was in a kit. I think it was one I had. I've reclaimed that from an old doily. And then I've applied this, again, hand-dyed wool felt, and it has the greens and some orange through it. So we've got the orange and the greens peeking through, and there's a bit of green peeking through at the back here. And then I've appliqued one of these flowers on just because I like it. I've done a bias edge on that linen to keep it all neat and tidy, and I've done blanket stitch around here. These bottom edges I've just done a hem and hand stitched it down with a little running stitch, and you can see these didn't come out as neat as I'd hoped. This is supposed to be 2 lines of like running stitch, but on the other side, now there's a couple of little surprises over here. These lines, and again I haven't removed my pen marks, but these lines are the opposite of those running stitches, and they're attaching that beautiful vintage quilt block to this piece of linen. Now we've got this beautiful piece of vintage lace on this edge, and it sort of wraps around this little area here, but this can open out so you can have it hanging out of your book if you want. This piece I had earmarked for something else, and I'll show you in a minute. So we've come to the other side of that sandwich tray cloth with another feed sack, vintage feed sack puff. And then the other side of that beautiful green wool felt. Now again, I've just got this pinned on because I'm not convinced I like it yet. I'm not. And I've got this beautiful piece of French vintage that I got from Nairi. Now that was the whole, well, I say the whole piece. I trimmed a little bit off either the top or the bottom just to square it up. I think that will be stitched on there somehow. I really love that piece. And then we've got the back side of this sandwich tray cloth. Now, if I come back and try to close this book, I might leave that lace out for now so you can see how it looks. But again, I've designed that so you can just tuck that in out of the way quite nicely. There's our beautiful, what's it called? Battenberg. Now the other thing I wanted to get in there was this beautiful, beautiful vintage lace. I was told this was a handkerchief. I'm not convinced it is because of this top edge more than anything. It has a little running stitch through it, but then it's got this incredibly fine, I think it's silk, hand stitched on there. I don't know if you can actually, you can see it's worn through in some spots. And of course it's got stains and foxing and whatnot, but it is a glorious piece of fabric. I've got a little spider crawling up my arm and it's bugging the life out of me. I can feel it. So I'm just going to relocate that little fellow. I don't know where he went now. I wanted to get this into it, but I haven't been able to work out how to make that work yet. So let's get back to trying to close this. The other thing I've noticed is this is bottom heavy, so I must have put a lot of things down here, and when it closes you can actually feel it's bulkier down this side. So I'll have to try and address that somehow. I mean, taking that off would be a good start. If we keep this in there, and our, oh my gosh, doctor's flannel. And see, again, this piece of lace is a bit bulkier down this bottom end, so it's a bit of, yeah. And then, you know, this embroidery adds to the bulk down this end. Let's try and close that. Strike team required. They're calling us out. They're now rusty lace. Now, where was I going to put that? Oh, I remember, I think. And then this page. Now, I was thinking, it's not quite the right age, but I was thinking of somehow stitching this in on there. It's got beads and sequins. It's very 90s bridal, I think. Maybe even 80s. So I was thinking of putting that in there. And then my feet are hurting, guys, sorry. And see, there's a bit of bulk where those puffs are in the centre too. This delicate little page. See, that big flower would add to the bulk, so that straight away can go. And so that's what she looks like if I manage to get all that in. Again, I don't like how this is hanging out, so I'd have to, I think the best option is to just fold that in out of the way while it's not being used. Of course, this doctor's flannel will not stick out that much if it goes in. I will adjust that, but then see, that has to be stitched right in as well. It's not stitched in tightly as yet. That linen's gonna, I mean, I feel like that, even if that's stitched in, that linen's gonna stick out too far. So I'll have to fiddle with that a bit. I want to try and keep those colours exposed that I showed you earlier. Those little puffs stick out a little bit, and then we get to this lace that tucks in. So, where's that? Tuck that doctor's flannel in. Kowloon Bay. Oh man, they've lost houses apparently. They want us to go down to Kowloon Bay. Want us to do the swing shift. I've got to tuck that in. I just can't stop thinking about that now. If I can. So if I manage to get all those bits in, it's a great big chunk of a book. And I'm just not sure what I think about it, to be honest. I might have to deconstruct it and rethink it. And this is where I get stuck. This is why I haven't finished any for so long, because I overthink it. I'd love to get all those pieces in, but I'm not sure I like, it's chunky. I mean, this isn't going to be that chunky there. I've got quite a few folds there. But she's a bit of a beast. So there's that one. I don't know if I've shown you this one finished. I had this on display at the fair the other day, last weekend. I had a couple of kits for that one, so I had a sample, but people wanted to buy the needlebook instead of the kits. So I've just done a bit of vintage cotton, like bobbin lace, machine lace, it's torchon lace, I can't remember the name of it now. Like it's a woven cotton lace. I've stitched it into the back there. Had this beautiful piece, I only had a small piece of this beautiful cherry fabric, a vintage cotton. I think I've got a tiny bit left that I want to keep. I bought this bias binding recently. I got a couple of other colours, but I'm not sure if I actually like it on here. I think it's just a bit too wide. I think if it was, you know, half that width on the front, I'd like it more. I just think it's a bit wide for the size of this book. So I finished the book, well, most of it, and I thought, that cover's a bit plain. I think I need something else. So then I made these little red puffs, which ended up turning into a sort of a stylized cherry on the front. So again, this is all hand stitched. I haven't done anything on the machine. I've got a beautiful piece of blue vintage wool on the lining, and again, like I said with the last one, I've only just started doing it this way, and it won't always be like that, but this piece of vintage reclaimed tablecloth I've put in there as a pocket, and then I've stitched, I only had this little piece of wool felt left, just that little square, so I've sort of just stitched that in. And of course I don't like plain little pieces, so I did a little hexie flower out of some vintage fabrics I had. And then I've added some Great Dane hairs all through it, as, you know, a lovely sprinkle of Great Dane glitter, because apparently everyone needs that in their lives. I'm getting really frustrated with these hairs. I just bent over to pick up a thread I'd dropped, a needle, and whacked my forehead so hard on the edge of this table, and the edge is metal. It's okay, I haven't split it open, it's just bruised. So then I've added these vintage feed sack puffs along that edge, because of course I can't just keep it plain. This I added later. I found this piece of vintage napkin I've had for years from the 50s, and I just love the fabric. I used to hate it, but I'm glad I've kept this bit, and I wanted to keep that fluffy edge. So I put that in, and then I didn't like the back of it, so I've added a piece of vintage fabric on the back. And then I decided to go back and stitch a piece of vintage crochet in there. And then I decided I won't seal it all the way around. I'll leave the top open, and how can I make a flap on that? So I've ended up stitching in this little crochet medallion, and I've lined it, and we've got a little pouch in there, and I've added a little vintage button and stitched a little loop. I tried to do a little picot, but it keeps disappearing, so I hand stitched a little loop out of some of that linen thread, and it's a bit of a tight fit, but I found they often stretch over time, so it should be okay. And it's not the best way I've done it because that crochet has to sort of sit down over the button, which is what I wanted, but it sort of screws up a bit. Then we've got this. Now, as I showed you in the last one, I usually attach something to this flap, and I haven't, and I don't know if I will yet. I don't know if I will at all. But I have stitched the bottom closed and left the top open, so in theory you could stick a pen or something in there if you wanted to. Don't know, still not sure about that, if it'll stay or if it'll, I don't know. And that's part of this sandwich tray cloth that I thought sort of blended in with that. We turn him over, and of course I didn't like the stitching on the back, so I've appliqued a piece of fabric with cherries and strawberries. Then I've got a piece of that beautiful blue vintage wool blanketing again, and as usual I can't keep it plain, so I've stitched on this reclaimed crochet from a doily that was disintegrating. Willow's at the door huffing and puffing at me again. Now this is the centre, and I don't know what came over me, but I decided to put a little skirt on it, a little peekaboo skirt out of some vintage broderie on glaze. Now I haven't threaded any ribbon through there yet, but I might, I don't know. That's actually designed to thread some ribbon through. Don't know if I will yet. I don't have the right ribbon or the right colour, so at the moment it's just plain. You can see there's age marks on this lace, but I like that. And I've left this raw edge because I like that. I just like, and you know, I've left these edges raw. When we lift up the skirt, there's an embroidered, these are supposed to be cherries, but with those little bits down there, they don't look like cherries to me. I think if that was gone, that looks like cherries, doesn't it? I've done a reverse image search on this and it comes up as cherries every time. I thought it might have been something else, but... And then I've stitched a bit of that strawberry check on there as a little tab. We turn over, and of course I can't keep anything plain, so I've just stitched a little vintage lace motif on there next to that tab. And then again, the back of this sandwich tray cloth again, I didn't like the back, so I tried to leave it and it got the better of me. So I hand pieced these, some of these are much older than others, these fabrics, into a little quilt block. But I don't know if you noticed, this piece of fabric was longer. I cut all these to the same size. I think it was 2 inches. Might have been 1.5 inches. I think they're 2-inch squares. But this one was bigger, and instead of trimming it off like I normally do, I left it because it was the right length to cover that. And then I had a hole, so I've just done a little bit of needle weaving in there to fill in that hole. And then we're back to the last page with another pocket and more Great Dane glitter for your enjoyment. Not mine, but yours. And that's about it. I have done a little bit more work on, I don't know where that thread's come from, on one of the larger books. The original, oh crikey, I'm getting sore, sorry guys. The original needle book I was putting this pouch in. I think I've changed my mind. I think I want to put it in the pouch because I'm going to put this tilde on the back of this. I've started quilting this, so that goes that way, that goes that way. It obviously needs to be trimmed to size, which I haven't done yet. Because I'm putting this tilde on the back side of this pouch, I'm now starting to think that maybe I should put this pouch in the needle book with that fabric as the cover instead of the quilt one. So originally I'd done it to go in this needle book. It was originally going in this one, this vintage cutter quilt one, but I'm now starting to think I might put it in this one. Now I've pieced these together on video a few times, and then the last time I did it, I got it inside that night and started to work on it and thought, I've got all my pieces mixed up. So I'm starting to think I might put it in this one now, because I just think it'll work better. So this is the one I want to concentrate on next, because I really like this one. I mean, I like all of them mainly, but so this is just tacked down there out of the way while I stitch this edge in. I don't want to stitch all that in. I need to lift that a bit as well so I can stitch all the way around. So yeah, that will come up and it will lay back out once I've stitched it all down. I've tacked all that down too. Now this is stitched up to here, I think, on the front. So that will work as a pocket inside the front there. I'm thinking I might put this, it's not going to be all folded like this, I need to trim it. But I think I might put that as the next page. I need to pull it all out. It's all folded up so it'll stay together. But my thoughts are I might put this next. I'd like to get, okay, that's holding that in. So I want to have this wool felt as the next page, I think, but I think I'd like to stitch. Now, I think I've shown you this before. And again, as I've said, I keep overthinking. I keep overthinking these things, so I'd like to put this. This is a beautiful vintage little millinery flowers. Oh, I didn't realise that corner had been cut out. Someone gifted me these years ago on a swap I was part of, but I'm thinking I'd like to stitch those on into the corner here. Oops. It must be next door because I don't know that colour. And then with this silk ribbon, keep it a bit crushed like that, but stitch it down as, and sort of wrap it around the page like this. So that's what I'm thinking with that one. And then I'd like to get this in somehow, and I haven't quite worked out how yet. Willow, will you please start yelling at them? This one here, that's part of a table runner that's, the other end's been cut off, it's all disintegrating, it's full of holes. But I'd like to try and get that in. You can see up here, there's some holes up here. Oh, crying out loud. There we go. It's just off this, just in the screen. So I quite like the pink and the blue against all that. Oh, sorry, you're out of shot. It's out of shot. I like, see there's the pink and blue here, and then that'll peek through on the other side when it's all put together neatly. But then I've got and of course this most likely won't go next because I don't want two on each other. But I'd like to try and get this into it. Yeah, this one's just testing me a bit. Then I've got this beautiful linen napkin with this blue edging. And I'm thinking I can pull it together to make these big deep pockets. I can applique that onto the front of that pocket. And then the other side's got this that's already stitched on. This was from Nairi, this one. So that could be, I quite like that. And then I've got, I'm not sure yet, but I've got this little compact case that I got from my cousin that I'm thinking maybe put on here as another little pocket. Then I thought I might put this in as just as a page. Then I've got some beautiful blue felt, wool felt. And I'm tossing up whether to use this piece to create a pocket along the bottom there. Will you please stop yelling? Shush. And then of course I've got to somehow fit this, and this might go, I wasn't originally going to put it in the centre, but I want to fit this pouch in there. So at this stage it looks like it might go in the centre of the book, and looks like it's going to stick out quite a bit. I don't want to have to trim it. Oh no, it should work. So I want to keep, this is going to disappear a bit. I'm going to insert a zipper in here, but this will only peek out about that much. And then this has to be trimmed back a little bit as well. So that will be possibly set in there. And then when I turn that over, we'll have that quilted tilde on the back. And then possibly another doily as another page, but then that means that I'm going to have two against each other. I mean, like opposite sides, so not sure about that yet. And then we've got this tab, so I could attach that to that tab, or I could come back in. I've got another page, I think, of Suffolk puffs I could potentially attach to that. And then of course I've got these two again that I've got to work out. I'd really like this one, I think. I think I like it better than this one. So this one may be culled at this point. Then we've got the pink again. I was thinking of running this vintage trim down along the side of this wool felt. That's why that's in there. And then I'd like to try and get this cross stitch in somehow, this linen cross stitch. So again, still trying to nut that all out. Maybe I should go and spend some time on that over the next couple of days, because I'd really like to get that one finished. Folding it all back in to try and keep it together is a bit laborious, but it's a bit of a pain because when I go to pull it apart I forget what I've done. But if I fold it all up in a big burrito like that, I can keep it all together. Oh. As usual, I'm hurting my feet sitting here like this. So it's starting to warm up again, and I keep getting messages to go out on the fire truck. So I might fit it there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know I just keep showing the same things, don't I? I just haven't had the time or the energy to get much done, so I'm lagging, I'm sorry. The other thing before I go, as I said, I keep these all in bags, so they're all in, I keep them all in plastic bags while I'm not working on them. But they still tend to get grubby. I'm not sure how, because I do wash my hands before I work on them. I don't lay down my hand towel like I was taught at Guild to work on. So that could be an issue. But my work keeps getting grubby as I'm working, and I'm wondering if anyone has any tips to try and reduce that happening, or how I can wash these things, because I think they're going to be quite delicate, some of them. I usually go in whole hog and just wash stuff, but that has worked to my detriment many times. Yeah, I don't know how I keep getting them so grubby. Or maybe they were actually grubby when I started, even though I've soaked everything, nearly everything. I haven't soaked those vintage laces like this one because I love the patina. So some of them I don't clean up because I really like them. And that one in here that's really rusty, I haven't done it either. But maybe, even though I've soaked them, because my lighting's so bad inside, maybe they were grubby before I started. But my little pouches, one of my favourite little pouches, or both of my pouches I've been using a lot, they're looking dreadfully grubby. They're both going to need a wash. And that one that I hand stitched, I mean, I'm going to hand wash it, of course, but I'm still worried about washing it. This one, it is so grubby. So we've got that, what's it called? Liberty on the back. Look how grubby it is. And then all of this on the front, and it is just so grubby. Look at that. Looks like I've spilled bloody coffee on it even. I just heard my ex-husband's car start. That amuses me. He lives down the road. So that's it today, guys. It's getting really humid and yucky. It's, what is it? It's 5:15 in the evening, so time to go and pack some of this up and think about something for dinner if I can even eat, and go back and get some more. I'm just gathering stuff for the Christmas drop, my last drop of the year. This time I'm trying to have everything ready before I... Thank you so much, Jude. Trying to have everything ready this time before I launch it. So what I've been guilty of doing is, for example, I'll give you an example. The fabrics as an example. So I might say I've got so many pieces of this fabric at this size, or so many fat quarters, whatever, and I'll just cut up one fat quarter and not cut and prepare the rest. So once everything's been sold, I've then got to madly race around and cut the fabrics up and iron them and press them and fold them and package them, as well as if I've got any threads or any kits, or I photograph them and don't usually pack them at the time. So now when I photograph a kit or a pack, I'm packing them in a plastic sleeve as I'm photographing them, so I don't have to do it afterwards. So this time I'm trying to have everything pre-done before I launch the drop. So I'm hoping, in theory, once that drop's completed, I can just go you know, go through people's orders and go bang, 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 pick up those packs, put them in, wrap them up, put a bow on them and put them in the mail, and it should potentially cut back days or weeks of packing time, I hope. So I haven't announced a day for that yet. I was hoping to get it done for last night. I wanted to launch it last night. It won't be ready tonight. It's going to depend on how this weather keeps going. Well, it's just slowed me right down. It's just, you know, it's horrible. And it's worse inside. And then, of course, having the iron on as well in a small room, in a house with no insulation and no air conditioning, it can be brutal. So I have been working on it. I've got a few packs together. I've got a few kits together. I've pulled out some more vintage linens, some tablecloths that you may not have seen yet or you wouldn't have seen yet. Not sure how many embroidered pieces there are going to be because I've stalled on digging into my stash again. I don't want to get rid of my pieces, but I'm going to have to get rid of more. So I think for me, personally, I think there's some really nice pieces coming up because I'm starting to dig deeper into my stash. And I haven't been out looking for more for weeks because between being ill and having the allergic reaction and having the drama with the dog and every other thing, I haven't been able to get out and I haven't had the money. I've had to spend money on other things. So I don't really have much in the way of new items. I've got new to you items that I haven't shown yet, but I've got nothing new that I've found. So yeah, that's where we're at, guys. So I'm just I'm just trying to pack up what I've had out here to show you, and I'm gonna go. Those calling. I need to get off these feet. Even though I'm sitting, I'm leaning forward and putting my weight on my feet, and it's very painful. So yeah, I'll get going, guys, and thank you once again for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this or learned something, or I don't know, whatever. As always, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'd love to receive comments, of course, positive ones. Nothing. I had one yesterday. Someone was calling me a clown on Instagram, and my daughter stepped in to try and defend me, and she's like, "You're right there, mate." And so he attacked her, like really attacked her, and I said to her, "I think you should report that. That's not okay." But anyway, yeah, you take care too. Everyone take care. Be safe. If you're in this heat, try to keep cool. Make sure you're hydrated. I hope the reports that I've been getting coming through are not true. I've been told that they've lost some homes in Bombala. Is it Lake Bombala? I hope that's not true. Sometimes we get reports through from the fire ground, and it turns out they're not always 100% accurate. So hopefully that's the case this time. I don't watch the news, so I don't know. I don't like the news. I can't cope with bad news, so I regulate what I take in anyway. I've even got rid of my TV, so I don't listen to the radio either, so I don't know. I rely on, reports from family and friends. But anyway, I'm going to go. Be safe. I hope you're all well, and keep an eye out for my next drop on Instagram, my D-Stash page at Gladys and Maud Unearthed. And it will be this coming week sometime. I've started uploading some things for you to see what will be coming up. And as soon as I get on top of packaging everything and cleaning it and getting it all prepared, I will start announcing when that drop will be. I've also got a giveaway. I was supposed to draw that a couple of weeks ago, and it was right on the time that we'd had to take Mac to the vet, and I completely forgot about it. And it took me nearly a week, I think, to realise I'd forgotten about it. So I've extended that a bit. I've extended it till, I think, Christmas Eve, because I thought that gives me time to get myself sorted out again. And it'll give you guys some time to enter that giveaway if you want to. It doesn't cost anything, and if you win, I will mail the prizes to you. There's 3 lovely packs of vintage textiles. One of those includes some vintage Sanderson linen, so you might want to have a look at that. I haven't had anyone enter for a couple of weeks, but it's up there, and it'd be great if you want to enter. The more the better, obviously. The more chances you enter, the more chances you have of taking away that giveaway prize. So anyway, I'm going to go. I do this every time, don't I? It takes me forever to leave. But thank you, I'm going. Thank you so much for joining me. It's great seeing you all again. And again, be safe, be well, look after yourselves, stay hydrated. Or if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, stay warm. And I'll see you next time. Thank you again.